Hey, what's up, guys? It's Adam Science here, and today we're going to be going over the common carotid artery, and more specifically the external carotid artery. So we have a little mnemonic for this one. So I drew out an angry lady, and she's cursing PMS. So this mnemonic, it goes, some angry lady figured out PMS. What PMS stands for, it has abbreviation, but I don't know. You can make it up if you want, but we're going to have to figure out what PMS is anyway, because they each stand for a branch off the external carotid artery. And the external carotid artery is going to supply most of your exterior portion of our face, or at least the blood for those areas. So some is for superior thyroid artery, or superior thyroid branch. Then angry was for ascending pharyngeal branch. Some angry lady. Lady is for lingual, and lingual is paired with facial. The facial artery, if you see it, it's actually really coiled. Lingual will just go straight to the tongue. We have the occipital, so that's going to supply the back side of our head. Our posterior auricular. Posterior auricular, so that auricular, if you guys remember, that's for ear, so that's going to run kind of behind our ear. We have our maxillary. Maxillary is going to go inside the face, going to supply most of our deep muscles of the face. And we have the superficial temporal, and that's up here, and that's going to be our headache artery. So if you have a headache, it's from the superficial temporal artery. So highlighting here, some angry lady figured out PMS. So very cool. All right, pretty easy. All right, so let's fill it out here on the chart, and I believe I'm going to go over just some landmarks before we get started. So that's a thyroid down there, that big gland, really. So it's our thyroid gland. The artery coming up and splitting off or bifurcating into the external and internal carotid is the common carotid. And then we're going to have this area right here before the bifurcation, and that's going to be our carotid sinus. It's going to have a lot of baroreceptors there, which is responsible for controlling our blood pressure, more or less. So that's just an interesting, medical thing to know. So that has a lot of baroreceptors and chemoreceptors, so it controls our blood pressure. Then we're going to have the internal carotid artery, another landmark. Internal carotid artery doesn't branch until it reaches the cranium. We have the external carotid artery, which is what we're going to be talking about. We're talking about the branches off of that. Some angry lady figured out PMS. So cool. So let's look for the S, which is going to be our, if you guys remember, it's going to be right here. It's going to be our superior thyroid. It's going right into the thyroid. And this is going to be the first branch off of our external carotid artery. So we have our superior thyroid branch. So some angry. Our ascending pharyngeal artery is going to be probably the hardest one to find, but it's ascending. So there we go right there. It's going to kind of come back around. Ascending pharyngeal branch. So some angry lady. It's time for our lingual. L is for lingual. And the lingual will just go straight into your tongue. So it's going to go from the back side, and it's going to go right into your tongue. So this one's highlighted in brown right here. It's kind of going right around, and it's going to supply our tongue. So that's our lingual branch. And I said the lingual is always paired with which one? That's coiled. And I have a video on this one. So this is the facial, and the facial is going to have 7 branches off of it. And so it's kind of, you can kind of see it's going to spread across the face a bit. I have a nerve video, which is a tiny zebra bit my cake, and that's a little mnemonic for that one. If you guys want to check that out, I'll post the video for that one at the end of this video. That's our facial artery, which has 7 branches. So some angry lady figured out, so that's our occipital. So time for occipital. Our occipital is in the back. I would think you guys would know. So the occipital, that's where our bone is, our occipital bone is. So it's going to supply like the back of our head. So it's all those little branches out there. That's going to be the occipital. So some angry lady figured out P. So this is our P now, which is our posterior auricular. Posterior auricular, so auricular is for ear. Posterior, because it's in the posterior side of our head. And so which one could that be? Well, it's going to be highlighted in gold here. And that's our posterior auricular branch. That's on the back of our ear. And that's kind of makes sense because we could see our external acoustic meatus, which is like our eardrum area, that hole in the middle. That signals like that's where the ear's at. It's kind of like my hole here. So some angry lady figured out PM. M is our maxillary. Our maxillary is probably the hardest one to find, and it goes into it's supplying our deep muscles of the face, so it's going to be a lot more deep. So it's our maxillary. And that one also has a lot of branches. Then S, probably my favorite one. So this is superficial temporal. It's going around where your temple's at. And so the superficial temporal one, that's responsible for our headaches. So if you have a migraine or severe headache, it is because of the superficial temporal branch and artery. So very cool, guys. That's pretty much sums up the video. These are all the external carotid branches off the external carotid artery. So yeah, got y'all some little extra information. But remember, some angry lady figured out PMS. What PMS stands for, other than what our max means, other than our posterior auricular, maxillary, and superficial temporal, I don't know. But come up with what you're on. Thanks for watching.